Hello, my name is acbtheman, and welcome to Radio Epic. Number 8, and we are back after a 2-week hiatus. We had a very good Memorial Day weekend, at least most of us seem to have had. I had a very good birthday, and I will tell you exactly what happened on my birthday here in a second. But first up, we have PhD Shenanigans. How are you doing, man, and how was your Memorial Day weekend?
I'm doing great. It was a good weekend, too. How about you?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. I'll tell you exactly about it in just a second. Next, we have a returning guest, sort of a staple here now, I would assume. Drifting Platypus, how are you doing, man?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Doing well, and glad to have you back.
It's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
We have someone new to the Radio Epic podcast, Sedwerd. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you found Epic, what you do in Destiny mostly, and just anything else you would like to say.
Sure. Just want to say thanks for having me on tonight, guys. I appreciate it. Joined Epic about 2 months ago, actually. I'd actually been familiar with Epic for a couple of months. I randomly joined a raid with Orphan Galaxy and Shadowlord last November, I believe, to complete my first Wrath of the Machine raid. Really enjoyed my time with those guys. They left a pretty good lasting impression with me. But over the next few months, I joined a couple of random games with Epic Clan and really enjoyed the playstyle and personalities. So finally, this past April, I requested to join the clan, and been happy ever since.
Very nice. I'm glad you joined their raid. It's always good to have new members. What are we up to? Like 600 or something in Epic itself now? Something ridiculous.
It's pretty large.
In and around there.
Yeah, it's definitely getting up there. It's going to drop a little bit with Destiny 2 with the PC release. But, maybe we'll have most everybody there for the initial release because PC is not going to release at the same time, which, I don't know. I'm playing on Xbox, so it doesn't affect me much. Were any of y'all planning on playing on PC?
No, definitely going to keep it on my Xbox One. That's why I got it.
Yeah, I believe the same for me as well.
Well, for me, I would like to get it on PC. I don't think I'm going to have a strong enough PC anyways. I would like to get it just because it's supposed to have better frame rate and all that. But at the same time, I think I've heard talk of maybe only 2 people in our Slack chat. That's like 2 out of 250 or so that may play it on PC. So I think most everyone's just going to stick Xbox One.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have that boost in graphics, but having to get 2 different copies is, nah.
Well, especially because they sort of denied it, but they haven't really said anything about it of bringing your characters cross platforms. So it's up in the air right now. If they did that, that'd be okay. But as of right now, it seems like that's not going to happen. So very hard to do more than one console, especially if you're not a Twitch streamer or major YouTube player.
Yeah,
so.
It turns into a chore at that point.
That sounds like work.
Yeah, well, if it is your job, anyways. So the sort of major bit of news this week, I guess major bit of news last week and this week, the Destiny 2 servers are not going to be dedicated servers. The reason behind this is Bungie wants everyone to be able to have a decent time, and if you have dedicated servers, if you have really, really bad internet connection, you're going to always have a bad time because you'll always be behind the server. You won't be connecting to it well. And what we have now is a peer-to-peer system which allows for good times, but allows those people that are having really bad connection to sort of dictate what's happening. So if you have a bad connection, you're going to do a little bit better in a Crucible game, which really shouldn't happen. So they have said that they are going to have a combination of sort of dedicated and peer-to-peer systems. We're still going to have peer-to-peer systems where we'll connect to each other, but they said most of the physics hosting and most of the gameplay hosting stuff will happen in the cloud servers that they say they're having. So essentially, you'll still connect to somebody else, but if somebody has a red bar, the server that they have can say, no, that's not really happening, you have a bad connection, or can say, yes, that's actually happening, and the game server will determine what's actually going on, and not your console telling somebody else that you really weren't shot and that you really fisted havoc them, even though you died like 30 seconds after you fisted havoc them. So it should be less of that stuff. What are your thoughts on having sort of this hybrid system that they say should be better, but it's not technically dedicated servers?
I think it's an interesting idea. I like the general idea behind both things, because we all have had that game where you killed that guy or you got that shot off, but he walks away and then you drop for no apparent reason. It's like, oh, and I'm dead and there's no one around me. So it's going to be nice and convenient for that. I don't know what I mean. It sounds, to the lay car parts guy that I am, like, very similar to a dedicated server. They could have called it that, saved themselves some terminology and explanations, but that's just me being a simple duck puppy with a car problem.
Well, it's not technically a dedicated server, because dedicated servers host everything on there, and you connect straight to the server. And if you have a bad connection, you're going to be behind no matter what. They're trying to make it to where if you have a bad connection, you're not behind. But now they're saying that the people that are sort of dragging the game slower aren't going to affect you as much. So there should be less red bar warrioring, but that's still open. That's still going to be a possibility. They also said that with the cloud stuff, you're not going to have as many instances where, for example, in the Oryx fight, where the ogres randomly teleport. Because, like, say, when we play with Shadow Lord or some of the guys over in New Zealand and Australia, sometimes their games will say that the ogres have moved, and my game says it hasn't, or vice versa. And so that should help PvE, but in PvP, there's still going to be those instances of red bar warriors, just less of them.
I've got to see it in action before I can decide on it, because I really enjoy dedicated servers, and I'm getting really tired of some of the insanity that goes on in Crucible. I had some garbage games today that I'm tilted over.
Crucible has been beyond wacky for the last several weeks, and I've actually had to step away just because I've gotten my fill of it. It's just beyond ridiculous. And a lot of times I've noticed I've been joining mid-game more in the last month or so than I ever have before. And that's beyond infuriating as well. But yeah, any change or what they claim to be an improvement for what it might be currently would be welcome.
Well, me personally, I'm in the middle of Arkansas, and there's always that mid-game thing if I go by myself. I've actually been playing a lot of PvP lately, but I've been going in with a pre-made fire team to guarantee, essentially, not joining mid-match. And I don't know. I'm kind of wary of this system. Everyone wanted dedicated servers because you will have everything on their thing, and you will definitely connect to it. I understand where they're coming from, where there literally will be guys, if they had dedicated servers, who could not play the game, could not play PvP. And I understand that. They want to have as many people play as possible. I'm still worried, though, that these guys connecting to this cloud-based server system, even though they say the physics engine and everything will be handled by the server, I'm still worried that guys connecting to each other will cause some issues. Now, they said it should take down some of those issues, but think of right now during the lulls. We literally had a game last week where we beat the enemy team so bad that it said breaking up teams, finding a better match. There was a 4-man fire team on the enemy team and 2 blueberries. The very next game that it connected us to had that 4-man fire team and 2 other blueberries. Now, it could have been proximity, could have been whatever, but they said breaking the games up and put 10 of us back together. So during the lags, during the droughts, hopefully they won't have as many droughts, but during the droughts, during the times where people are moving sort of away from the game or not really playing as much, we're still going to see those problems, I think, and I don't know if their new system is enough to alleviate it, especially like now. If they implemented that right now in Destiny 1, I don't know how much of a change we would see. And now I'm not a server guy, I'm not a computer guy. It seems almost like we like the system as we have it now. Let's try to do something to make it slightly better. But I guess you have to look at it from the point of view of you still want everyone to be able to play, and their system, their peer-to-peer, and now their hybrid peer-to-peer is going to allow more people to do that. So I guess that's.
I'll have to see how it goes, I guess, is the thing on that. But better is good, because I'm with you guys when I spawn mid-game, especially if it's a game where you're losing, because inevitably you're always spawning in when you're behind. It's so much less enjoyable. It's just like, oh, well, I guess I'll just suffer and die with my team that I just met.
I mean, I will say if you're completing a Crucible bounty and you need just a game completion, if you're 3/4 of the way through a match and you only need one more to complete your bounty, that's helpful. But if you're just trying to enjoy Crucible for what it's worth, it is kind of infuriating.
Well, we will see. We will definitely see. The other kind of bit of news is E3 is coming up in about a week and a half now, and more than likely, Destiny and all its information will be shown off at the PlayStation one, and I think that's Monday the 12th. I could be wrong, maybe Monday the 13th, whenever Monday is. But it'll be shown off there. They said that we will be able to see Arc Strider gameplay, which is the new Arc subclass for hunters, and that's sort of the only big news this week. I don't know. I guess we need to see the attunements, but Arc Strider just looks really, really a lot like the Blade Dancer. I don't know how it's going to be much different than Blade Dancer.
Well, it's a staff as opposed to a blade. That's about it.
A little bit of pole dancing going on, but that's about it for the most part.
It'll have killer animations, but unless those attunements have some just drastically different gameplay, I don't know. I mean, Blade Dancer technically you could say is about, there's some invisibility stuff, there's some backstab stuff. It's sort of stealthy, sort of, until you pop your blade. If Pole Dancer subclass has some other things that make it not as stealthy, or maybe make it a little bit more acrobatic as opposed to maybe that stealth, I could see it be differently, but it's exciting that we're going to see it, but I don't. That's one of these subclasses that I'm thinking is maybe not different enough from all three of the newer ones we've seen. But we will definitely see it at E3, see some snippets, see some reports and stuff. So just excited to, I guess, see more Destiny stuff in about a week and a half.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm still more excited about the gunslinger changes than I am about the new subclass.
Well, I guess, and we'll talk to Sedwerd and Platypus about this. Now, Drifting Platypus, you said you haven't really heard a lot about Destiny 2 stuff.
That's true. I'm still fairly in the dark, but always eager to hear what's going to change, see what's going to change, so I can be like, ooh, neat, or hey, I wish it would have done that in the first one. I'm glad they did that in the second one.
Okay, well, they, just to bring you up real fast on the question I'm going to ask, they showed off 3 new subclasses, and at the Destiny 2 reveal experience, they were able to play one of them. They showed off a sword subclass called the Dawnblade for Warlocks, which is essentially just make flaming swords and chuck them at everybody. They showed off a staff hunter, which is the Arc Strider, and it looks sort of like Blade Dancer, but it has a staff and is all electrical like the Blade Dancer is. And then they showed off Captain America Titan, which is a Titan that uses a void shield that you can hold up and move while shielding, but you then can also throw that shield and attack enemies. And so those 3 are kind of where I'm coming from, but I'll ask Platypus and Sedward first. Which of the 3 are you looking forward to playing, and are any of these new subclasses pulling you towards a specific class in general?
Well, I've mained Titan before, in 1, and the Bubble Buddy is always my go-to. So I'm intrigued about this Captain America style shield, where I'm assuming you could hurl it and bounce it across a couple of enemies or something, and still protect yourself while going forth.
Yeah, they showed video of that. They showed a video where he threw it and hit 2 enemies, and they showed a video where he was walking forward and a teammate was walking behind him, sort of being that. What about you, Sedward?
Well, I'm a hunter main. I've always been a hunter main, so I'm always going to be looking forward to see what they do for that going forward. So obviously, with the new hunter subclass, I'll be curious to see, especially with gameplay coming out, what that's going to be looking like. Um, but it is interesting to see. I mean, I started out as a or not sunsinger, but gunslinger. Um, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays in with the new shot package with that. I believe it's 6 shots now with the gunslinger.
That's one of the attunements gives you 6 shots, but it goes away sooner, so you have to be
Right.
more accurate and use them faster.
Right, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays into being better for PvE versus PvP. I'm guessing may not be the best for PvP, especially for a larger map. Obviously, if you're looking to use all 6 shots, if you have a larger map, it's going to be harder to hit each of those other characters. But so yeah, I'm going to be interested, especially coming in next week, to see kind of what this new subclass is really going to look like. And then, hopefully when the beta comes out, that'll be available as well. Really get my hands on it to see, whether Hunter going forward is something I really want to continue maining, or if I maybe want to go in a different direction, because the Titan does look very interesting. That Captain America, as you put it, is pretty enticing.
What about you, Shenanigans?
I'll still definitely be a hunter for sure, and I'll end up with all three eventually. I know that, but the Arc Strider I just wasn't all that impressed with in the reveal gameplay. It just wasn't really different enough, and it is that Titan subclass I think that I'm most excited to try out. Has sort of an aggressive support role look to it.
Well, I'm wondering if the reason they're showing off the Arc Strider is because of the sort of negativity toward it. So they're going to show it off at E3 and let people play it. I think this E3 is the first one that's open to the public too. So they'll have not only the journalists, they'll have actual civilians who aren't journalists. I guess journalists are civilians. Anyways, they'll have actual people playing the Arc Strider. So maybe that they're saying, oh, look, it is different enough. Maybe look at it. For me personally, I have mained a different class every year. First year was Titan, second year was Hunter, and sort of during Rise of Iron, I've been a Warlock. But seeing that mobile shield and seeing a teammate walking behind that Titan, I'm going to go Titan all the way when D2 starts.
Yeah, I really wonder if they're showing this new Arc Strider, like you said, just because they've already kind of noticed a lack of interest in the Hunter class as opposed to any other class so far. And I'm wondering even if like during the premiere when they were, because I'm sure they were tracking data as people were playing to see what characters they were actually playing.
Well, everyone wanted to play the new subclass, of course. And they had two old subclasses that were revamped at the premiere. But just people, the only positive thing people seem to have about the Arc Strider is that they're able to call it pole dancer. I mean, that yes, of course, that probably would have come out anyways. But people immediately said, "Oh, that's just another Arc Blade." And so my guess is they're showing that one off because of that sort of uh, because of that negativity there. So I'm excited to see it. I'm definitely literally the only reason I'm watching a PlayStation presser is for the Destiny stuff. Yeah, they have other cool things, but I'm an Xbox guy. But literally the only reason I'm watching for the Destiny stuff, and when it happens, I will probably wind up turning off, unless the PlayStation presser has live instrumentation like they did last year. That was really cool. I'm I'm a band nerd, orchestra nerd, so I stuck around last year because that. But anyways, so definitely that stuff is going to be cool to see. Now, one thing I've heard a lot about lately, um, when Destiny 1 came out, E3 ended, and from what I remember, the beta was like right immediately after E3. They said, "Ooh, look at Destiny! Oh, now go play it." There's been a lot of doubts about it, especially with something in the reveal event Um, I am going to be very sad, honestly, if we as a public do not have the beta or something right after E3. It's probably not going to happen, but personally, I'm going to be very, very sad if that doesn't happen. But the more and more we look at it, it's probably going to wind up being mid-July.
Well, there's been the talk about being Bungie Day, being the release day.
Well, that could be it, but the last 3 years, or last 2 years, Bungie Day has been like, oh, let's have their internal games and they're going to tell us about them. But I don't really remember a huge Bungie Day after Halo Reach went through. So I mean, while Bungie Day was big, and there's also this thing of in the D2 build, the D2 reveal build, the Glimmer was like 17,777 or something like that, 17,777 or something like that, and then there was another currency right beside it that was 9.8. So that's the release date. And so they're thinking that the Glimmer might say that the beta's coming out, maybe a little Easter egg, the beta's going to come out on July 17th, which makes sense, would be something Bungie would do, but I'm going to be really sad if they don't say, and go play it on Friday or something like that at the PlayStation presser.
Yeah, I don't really have my hopes up for it. I could see them doing July.
Well, especially, it's essentially going to be a stress test, especially with the waves. I don't know, more than likely PlayStation will have it early, so they'll have PlayStation pre-orders, PlayStation and Xbox pre-orders, then everybody. And so they're definitely using it as a stress test, but I'm really, really hoping I can play as that Titan on the beta and get some time in with it. I just really want to play some Destiny 2.
I'll be curious to see what they kind of have available for the beta itself, whether it's going to be the same they've had for the premiere and everything, where it's, PvP, limited, the strike, and one story mission, or if it was the one story mission, I believe, and that was it.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's that and maybe one more thing, maybe another PvP map or something. I would be very surprised if they dropped a patrol zone. Now, patrol's supposed to be huge. There's supposed to be different things in there, lost sectors, treasure areas, or whatever. I'd be very surprised if they drop that, because someone's going to find something in there. They're going to do something and find, oh, look, I found this room, and it has this giant thing in it that I'm not supposed to see now or something. I don't know. It would be nice to have a little bit of patrol area. Maybe they block off patrol area and say, look, you can only go in this first area. But I'm thinking it's going to be very close to that reveal build, or whatever build they have at E3. It's going to be very close to one of those builds.
I think we did have some patrol area in the beta, didn't we? Remember, that's where Randall the Vandal came from. Not like impossible to kill guy.
But how much of the patrol of Destiny 2 do you want, especially with the new... I don't know. It'd be nice to have it, but they said they have these new areas, these new lost sectors, these new treasure maps, these NPCs. I don't know. I think if they give too much away there, and it's not really giving too much away. If we have one patrol area, it's not going to kill anything. Or if we have part of a patrol area, it's not going to be too terrible. But is that too much with these new things, or do you think they want to tease us with some of these new things?
I think they'll give us just enough to show that the patrol is different than what it is now.
Definitely. I think they're going to just give you enough to bring, more want to it. Like, here's just enough, and you can see but don't touch kind of thing. Where you're like, oh yeah, see what you might be able to do? And then you'll have to wait it out, just foaming at the mouth, ready for that next little taste.
So I also heard another rumor, and I will fully admit I'm stealing this from another Destiny podcast. But I was listening to someone else, and they said they had a theory. We have 4v4 PvP, and that doesn't mean anything. But they said 4v4 PvP, what if we right now had 4 subclasses per character? What if the old ones came back, but we just had the additional ones right now.
I can see that because I remember looking at the inventory. There was the one slot with your active subclass, and there was 3 off to the side.
Which would be very nice, but and maybe that's why they're cleaning up these subclasses and going with these attunements, because they're like, by the end of D2 you'll have 6, maybe 2 of each kind on, I don't know. I really hope so, because as much as I love that Captain America Titan, I'm gonna just love having a bubble sometimes.
Agreed. A little bit of familiarity would go a long way in my book.
Well, and I know we're gonna have fun with the new subclasses in there, and I can see, sort of the Dawnblade is very similar to Sunsinger. The Arcstrider is very, very similar to the Arcblade, and the I don't remember the last one, the Titan one, but the Sentinel. Anyways, the Titan's subclass is very similar to a bubble in that it's a shield, but I sort of hope that we have both, and I got very excited by that, because then, like I said, we can move on to maybe 5 or maybe 6. Even if they're similar, they still have their differences, enough of a difference to play differently and have a different kind of play style. And so that is definitely a hope of mine, that we get all the old subclasses revamped back. All right, well, I'm going to move on to a segment that I like to call I Was Carried to the Lighthouse, and I think it's only going to happen once. And it's going to be a short segment. But for all of you out there who have not been to the Lighthouse, or who just want to get better, some advice from somebody who was literally drugged to the Lighthouse the last 3 games. I think he got 1 kill total. Play with people who are better than you. Or look at people who are better, because I've been playing a lot of PvP, and I've been doing decently lately, but after being taken to the Lighthouse and seeing how they think in the 3v3 game modes, then very next week, I don't know if it's just because I was more confident or whatever, but I came out swinging huge in 6v6 games, getting double KD as I was the week before and stuff like that, from just thinking more like these players who did well. And so I got lucky. I followed Twitch streamer Grenader Jake the same day I won the raffle, and so it was very awesome. And some of his chat was not very happy, because they've been following him forever. But it did give me a chance to play with Guardians who are way, way better than me. And so I guess I just want to say, do not forget to do that. Do not forget to look for opportunities to play with people better than you. Even if you don't want to get that much better, it's just nice to see how other people play this game, and maybe can give you a fresh perspective on how to do some things.
Definitely agree. As someone who was also taken kicking and screaming near the reset time when it was all going down, it was the hardest thing, but it was so much fun, and I got better for it in the same style.
Oh, and I also got the scout rifle, which apparently is like the best trials weapon, so I just got lucky. I will play trials with Shenanigans and Binelli here probably next week, but I'm good. Excuse me.
I myself, I actually took quite a long hiatus from trials. I did trials for the first few months that it was available back in spring of 15, so 2 years ago, when it was released, and then I got to the Lighthouse pretty early, randomly, and then after that, I really didn't see the incentive. I kind of backed off, and for over a year there, I watched videos of guys going to the Lighthouse and watched streams and everything, and I always heard complaints about how people always say, oh, it's so sweaty, and I lost interest. But then when the Rise of Iron record book came out, that was like the one thing that I needed to finish on the record book, and so I kind of dove back into it here in the last couple of weeks. And I haven't seen too many guys on Epic that have been posting on the 100, so I've actually been going back to LFG God forbid, to to look for people to play with. And I was fortunate enough to find two guys out of Scotland randomly who were very good. So again, I agree. Finding guys who are good to play with, that is more than beneficial. But I did fairly well. I wouldn't say they necessarily carried me. There was games that I helped them, they helped me. It was a good back and forth. But I'll tell you what, being able to go back to the lighthouse again for the first time in almost 2 years was a good feeling. Was a great feeling.
It's definitely an accomplishment, and I got there and I was like, oh wow. And what was really cool too is it was actually my 26th birthday on Memorial Day. It was my day off.
Oh, happy birthday!
My wife was
Happy belated.
my wife was taking care of the kids, and the kids had like just gone down for a nap. And so it was all like very good timing. I actually started playing with Butters, and I think it was going to be Hip Gorilla, and um, I had to say sorry. Just got the raffle to go to the lighthouse, and one thing was seeing how like when I play trials, you have to you have to be aggressive to try to get that first pick. But after that, I'm like it's hard for me to be very aggressive beyond that. And so to see those guys get that pick and then do the pick and collapse was very helpful for me to get more used to getting a kill and while recovering, pushing forwards to close off the area or do something like that. And that honestly, we played a ton of Supremacy the next week. I think it was Supremacy. Maybe it was just Rift. But whatever game type I played, there was a ton of times where I was able to help our team pull off a hard game because I and a couple other guys would push instead of backing off, and so it was just very helpful. One thing I do have to say is watching his stream, he called out two teams that did something I didn't know teams were doing, and so I can understand why people are having a hard time. Apparently, there are teams who will get up to 3 wins, delete their cards, go get another card, get up to 3 wins, and do that over and over through the entire weekend just to essentially take down teams and have a huge KD and a huge ELO, take down lower level teams. And so,
Just to boost their ELO, you said?
yes, because you're getting huge KDs, you're doing very well, and you're winning. Like there was a team that had over a 50 win streak on that. They faced a team on one of their other streams that had over a 50 win streak, because they were just going up to like 3 wins and dumping the card. And they were people who are known for that. And I was like, wow, that's different. I guess that's a way to play. You can play like that, but
That's pretty sad in my opinion, but
it was eye-opening. Luckily for me, it was the card after they took me when I was watching again, and because I had to turn. My internet's pretty bad, so while I was playing the game, I had to turn the stream off. But it was still a fun experience. Now I do have to say, and this is going to sound kind of bad. While I did go to Lighthouse, while it was awesome to get that Grimoire, while it was awesome to take videos and explore the space and get the good loot, it's one thing in the Destiny game. Yes, a lot of people have not made it there. But honestly, I went through there and I got a lot of tips and I learned a lot of things. But I don't really have a want or a need now or a thirst. And this is me. But I don't really have a thirst to go into all these 3v3 modes and be like, oh man, I gotta be ultra sweaty now. I don't know. I still like 6v6. I still prefer the 6v6 experience. And now with Destiny 2, with it going to 4v4, excuse me, with it going to 4v4, it'll be a little bit different than that. But going to Lighthouse is cool, but honestly, it wasn't the life-altering, earth-shattering experience that everyone lives up to it. And I know everyone's going to tell you that's been there. But if you can get there. But if you don't, play your 6s. 6s are great. 6s are awesome. So
agreed.
Definitely agree.
It's tough because, like you said, unless you get with a group of guys who are decent enough, who know, especially, and honestly, and this is my opinion, from week to week, it really depends on the map you're playing because I really believe that certain maps are easier to handle, especially for trials, than other maps. And I think I'm trying to think what map it was 2 weeks ago when I went. Um, the blue one. I can't think of the title of it. Uh, it, yes, Exodus Blue. That's right. It was a lot of straight corridors, easier to handle from distances. But if you get to a lot of maps that require close quarter combat, if you don't know how to handle it, it can be difficult.
There's a lot of factors that go into it. If that's still your goal, continue watching streams, try to get rifled, or continue to try to get better. Find a team that does it for you. But like I said, it's one facet of the PvP, one facet of the end game. So don't worry, you're not really missing that much. Yes, you're missing the experience that only a certain percentage of Destiny players have done, but it's an experience, and you're getting your money's worth. Honestly, I'd probably complain about the PS exclusives more than I'd complain about not getting to the lighthouse.
Oh,
That's just
I was going to ask you guys, how does everybody feel about the exclusivity for PlayStation again?
Not overly surprised, but still disappointed. I was hopeful that, hey, maybe it's our turn.
no.
Yeah,
Wait, personally, as long as it's not weapons, it doesn't bother me too much. I know that they have a little bit more grimoire, but it's not that big of a deal. As long as it's not the weapons like the Jade Rabbit or the whatever that sniper rifle is, the Meteor or something. While they may not be the best or in the meta right now, um, those still are weapons that we don't have that were supposed to come to us but then didn't. And so while while Bungie and Activision and Sony can do all they want because they have this deal through, personally for me, as long as it's not weapons or as long as the weapons are made available to Xbox and PC as soon as possible, it doesn't bother me too terribly much. I mean, as long as Bungie's getting some help and Activision's getting some funding from somewhere.
Well, I mean, here we are, how many months after uh, Rise of Iron, and we still have not gotten exclusives that were available to PlayStation, with strikes and weapons, and it's beyond ridiculous at this point. I mean, here we are launching Destiny 2, and we still have not gotten those exclusives yet made available to Xbox. And
yeah, I don't think we ever will
I,
now.
yeah, and I agree. At this point, we're this far along, and we still haven't gotten it. So
It's always gonna be a sore spot, but it's one of those things of Bungie and Activision have to make a deal, or Sony. Maybe I don't know exactly what all went into it. I don't know if Sony approached them or if they approached both companies and said, "Hey, who wants to have a deal?" I don't know, but um, it's their game, and I'm not getting like half the game. It's not like PlayStation gets 12 strikes and Xbox only gets 6. And I know that's um, honestly, the biggest complaint and everyone's biggest complaint is the time. If you want to have an exclusive, fine. If you want to have a longer exclusive, fine. But 6 months, honestly, should be what it is, and it should move over to the other side. As long as they don't go more extreme, which I doubt it, but as long as they don't go more extreme of like, hey, PlayStation exclusive raid for a month, or if they don't go to the hey, you may never get this, so you probably won't, like they did with some of that stuff for what we have right now. I think it'll be okay. I think it's probably going to wind up being uh, the year at the least thing. It's probably going to be the same thing. I don't know. While I'm I guess what I'm rambling on saying is, I don't like it at all. Not a lot of people like it, but if it's there, I guess I can deal with it because I know Destiny 2 is going to be awesome.
I think it's going to depend on the DLC calendar to see how often they're pushing out DLC. The one thing I'm going to be looking forward to D2 is, what that time period is, because one thing they've been struggling with, obviously, with D1 for since year one, is pushing out this DLC to keep people interested and doing it on a regular basis as opposed to every 6 to 8 to 12 months. And I'll be curious to see, with these exclusives, is that going to be shortened as well in terms of time period of being released to other consoles?
Like I said, even if it was like the DLC cycle, because they've got 2 DLCs planned like they did with Destiny 1. In the first year, we'll have those 2 DLCs dropped out, and hopefully another one like House of Wolves. So in the first year of Destiny 2, we should have a lot. Maybe even if it was just DLC cycle, I could be okay with that, because people say, well, Microsoft had exclusives. Well, think back to COD. From everything I remember, the Call of Duty exclusives, I was about to say, are a month. So even if they went 3 months and said, okay, you got this DLC cycle for these exclusives, we'd be all, okay, that sounds nice. You're going to get the first experience. But their whole catchphrase has been best experience on PlayStation. So I'm really worried that they're going to do the same thing where they're like, hey, look at all this stuff you can have on PlayStation. Only on PlayStation, except that one time we accidentally gave Xbox Hawk Moon and Monte Carlo.
I'm very surprised, and this is my opinion, but I'm very surprised that Microsoft just didn't jump in headfirst on D2 and get an exclusive rights, because especially with PC now, I'm sure that has something to do with it, but it's just the numbers have to show. I mean, you look at daily use of this game, daily users, it's been steady. It's been steady, and I don't get it. I don't understand at this point.
But you have to look back at Microsoft, though. Microsoft, in the last couple of years, though, has been shutting down studios, has been canning a lot of stuff. We even
Lionhead
saw
Studios went under
Fable
too.
Legend Heroes, whatever all that stuff has been essentially the only thing they're keeping around lately. It seems like is Halo and Gears for whatever reason, even though Gears is technically moved to a third party. So I mean, with Microsoft, I don't think this is like sort of against their policy right now, where yes, they want to make games, but Microsoft is looking towards that sort of all-in-one experience, and whatever the heck they're doing with the dashboard nowadays, they're just looking to throw on more and more stuff of that. So I mean, I understand why Microsoft hasn't gone into that right now, but at the same time, I don't. I guess the deal is just too good from Sony. And yes, the numbers show more people are playing on PlayStation. Yes, I see that more than likely the deal did bring more people over to the Sony side, but I don't know. It's frustrating, and hopefully they will be able to take care of it. Maybe by D3 we will not have so much exclusivity. I don't know.
And my guess is that deal is done now. That's Sony has their exclusives for the life of the franchise, would be my guess.
You're probably right, but they should shorten that window down. It's not the problem though is there's not that boycott fever. Destiny is such a great game. Destiny 2 is going to be such a great game that there's not that boycott fever of let's nobody play Destiny because of these exclusives. If they had half or 60% of the Xbox user base dropping off and not picking up D2, that would be something. But the problem is, and I guess not the problem, I guess their thing is, more people are going to pick it up for Xbox than are currently playing D1 right now. And if that were reversed, if it wasn't like that, they'd be looking into it. But because, I'm going to buy it, everyone's going to buy it, there's not really that need to say, oh, well, we need to fix it.
The one thing I wanted to bring up tonight, and I don't know if anybody else saw the article by Waypoint, it's a branch of Vice. They did a large article about the origin of Halo with Bungie Studios and a lot of the article, which is interesting, had to do with their interactions with Microsoft and how they took over and how they got rolled into Microsoft with churning out all the Halo series up until obviously Reach. Um, and I'm almost wondering, from my sense of the interviews, really is everybody's been saying, well, it's all because Sony's been throwing a gobs of money at this to get exclusivity. I'm almost wondering it's also because Bungie's like, yeah, we still have bad feelings against Microsoft, so we're really not going to we're not going to play nice with them.
Yeah, I remember it being a very large celebration on BungieNet when they were finally out of their contract with Microsoft. They were finally free. Yeah, it wasn't a necessarily happy arrangement that they had going on from what I remember.
It could be that, but then why is it a year? I mean, yeah, you have bad blood, and yeah, you want to put the exclusives on PlayStation, but why such a long time? If there's not that outward, it's still on Xbox. They're still making a ton of money. There's not been ever that outward hatred from Bungie. There's never been this huge story of, oh, Bungie hates Microsoft, and I know that'd be because Microsoft would never publish a Bungie game again. But just why such a long time then?
It's sort of punishing the players
Exactly, you're punishing your
with
player
making it
base.
exclusive that long. You're not sticking it to Microsoft. You're sticking it to the people that are playing the game.
And let's be honest. I mean, and this is me too. But like, I imagine you guys being the same, maybe being familiar with Halo. But the only reason I was ever interested in Destiny to begin with was because it was a Bungie title.
Personally, I knew nothing about it until it was probably 2 months before I said Destiny. I was like, okay, new video game made by Bungie, and I was like, pre-order. I literally pre-ordered Destiny because it said from the creators of Halo, and I was like, well, there you go.
Yeah, and I just don't understand how from the get-go Microsoft was just not was just let's make this work. People are familiar with this studio. We've worked with them in the past. Let's make it work. But now they're paying for it, unfortunately, and so are the players who are stuck with Xbox.
Well, you have to remember when the Xbox One first came out, they had a different head of Xbox. I don't remember his name, but they had that guy who he was really the one who was pushing for that all-in-one system. Games are a side business for the Xbox. And then I think, who is it now? Phil Spencer came
now.
in, and he's looking
really
more into
turned it
games, and
around.
he's trying to do damage control from the other guy. But still, they're not So I think it's just honestly because of a myriad of factors. But anyways.
But we're the ones paying for it in the end.
Yeah. I guess, so if you're listening to this at this point, to sum up that whole conversation, PlayStation exclusive sucks. Or PlayStation exclusive sucks, so just don't do it, people, even though they're going to do it anyways. So I guess one kind of last topic, we may expand upon this next week before the actual E3 show. Are there any other things from E3 that aren't Destiny that you're looking forward to? Any other pressers that you're looking forward to? Anything you're looking to coming out at all?
Red Redemption.
The Scorpio.
Red Dead Redemption.
Ooh, Red Dead 2 is supposed to come out this, but Red Dead 2 is not supposed to come out until 2018 now.
Yeah, they pushed it.
Yeah, that made me sad when I heard that.
But we're still probably going to see something. So I mean, that's just going to be cool. Well, personally, I always look forward to the Bethesda presser. I think this is going to be the third year they've done it. In the last 2 years, it's been awesome. There's all sorts of rumors of the next Bethesda big single player experience. I don't know. You never know if any of those are true, but I always love the Bethesda pressers because they're always awesome. And now Microsoft's pulling a Bethesda by doing theirs on Sunday. So I think on Sunday we got Microsoft and Bethesda. I think Monday it looks like, if I look right, we got PlayStation or Nintendo, and then Tuesday we have the other one who didn't go. So I don't know. I guess I'm going to watch Sundays, part of Mondays, and that's it. But I'm definitely looking forward to Bethesda's.
Was it Bethesda that said that they were working on a new IP, if I recall correctly?
They did, and there's probably going to, but new IP though could, the thing about Bethesda though is it could be like, it's Bethesda published, but this other company did it, which is going to be fantastic. It's going to be great. But we're all thinking like, oh, co-op Fallout or co-op Skyrim, or we're all thinking, ooh, some new Doom spin-off or something like that. But it's probably not that. It's still gonna be cool. We're gonna look and like it. We're gonna like it, whatever it is, more than likely.
I'll be interested to see personally the Nintendo section, only because with Switch, it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of go forward now that there really isn't a lot of titles out there to even get into it yet. And I think they're really going to have to show a lot to impress people. And the one thing I heard a rumor about, and this is just rumor, I don't know if it's actually going to happen, obviously, is possibly a new Metroid title.
Okay,
Ooh.
that would sell as good as their Switch. Excuse me, as well as their Switch is doing. That would definitely push a ton more units. I would personally look into it if they had Metroid game. They have a remakes Mario Kart. You have the Zelda. I would look into it then. Like you said, there's not very many games for it, so they're going to show something off.
And then the online I forget I forget the title of it, but the online portfolio they have now, the $20 a year you can pay, and you get access to any number of titles they have from Nintendo back X amount of years, essentially, and so you get to play pretty much any Nintendo title on the Switch for just that $20 a year, which is, in my opinion, and I was a Nintendo kid from the get-go, that's huge. That is absolutely huge.
It's huge, but from I think what I've heard right now is they're focusing mainly on NES titles, and that's sort of why they killed the NES Classic, because they're like, well, people are just going to pay $20 a year for it. But I don't know if it expands to maybe SNES too. And granted, $20 for essentially any NES game is way worth it. $20 a year, excuse me, is way worth it for that. But as a sort of Nintendo fanboy, I would like to see a bigger catalog before I do it. But like I said, that's way more than worth its money. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think I've been looking at possibly getting a Switch myself, but there's no way I would get into it unless I knew there were enough titles out there to be worth the price.
Well, speaking of Switch, have you seen the Splatoon 2 voice chat thing?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that's such a mess.
That is so bad.
I really hope their first party solution is cleaner.
Yeah, agreed.
At that, it's better just to make a Discord account and just talk to each other on Discord.
Yeah. There are better alternatives than having to go through your phone, through their adapter, through the Switch, it's ridiculous.
Here's the thing that I thought about immediately. So that picture, okay, yeah, it looks bad. That's all going to be like right beside you. So it's not that it's a complicated system. It's that it's literally going to have to be right there at your person. For those of you who haven't seen anything about it, for Splatoon 2, I don't know if it's the company that made Splatoon 2 or a different company. They have a voice chat thing coming out where you have like a little puck. You connect the headset to the puck, you connect the phone to the puck, and you connect the Switch to the puck using 3 different wires, and then that all somehow lets you talk over the internet. Anyways, it's gonna be interesting. Like I said, I will like the PlayStation Pressure, especially if they have the live orchestra like they did last year. But I don't have a PlayStation, but I don't know if there's anything that's gonna say, oh my gosh, I really need to save money and buy a PlayStation. Maybe Last of Us 2, maybe God of War, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm looking forward to Destiny, and I don't know if any other game is going to pull me towards PlayStation right now.
Yeah, the PlayStation's more or less in the same boat as the Switch for me. There's just not enough exclusives on it that I want to buy it.
There are some fantastic exclusives, and there are probably more than the Xbox, but
I mean that I actually want to play. There's really only 2 maybe 3. It's just not worth the money yet.
Well, and when my Xbox, there are weeks where my Xbox is a dedicated Destiny machine. And so if I'm going to have a console that's a dedicated Destiny machine, I'm going to stay with the Xbox because we have Epic and the Slack chat and the 100 and all that. If it was now, I have been playing a lot more of. I've actually been going back and playing Gears of War 3 lately, but essentially when Destiny's my main thing, I'm just gonna stick where everyone I know is. So
Yeah, I've noticed there's a lull in activity right now, and I noticed I've definitely cut back on my Destiny. The only thing, I've been doing weekly is, I've been signing up for 3 to 100 for like weekly raid activity. But that's about it. I mean, that the first day of reset, I'll churn out the stuff, the daily, the heroic, and the PvP. But I've really kind of cut back. I've actually started getting back into Ghost Recon Wildlands a little bit more. But until the beta comes out, I think that's what you're going to see. Is you're not going to see a lot of activity.
Yeah, 'cause I'm in the same boat. Every reset, it's, hey, what's the weekly? Hey, what's the daily? What's the PvP? And then I do still play around with the gunsmith. He's still my buddy.
honestly, the only reason I'm playing a lot of Destiny is because of Hip Gorilla and Hop's Victim. I jump on. If they're on, they'll join the party and we'll do whatever together if we can find other people for PvP. But honestly, if they're not on, I'm not playing Destiny. I'm playing something else. I've been playing a whole bunch of other games lately, so we'll just have to wait and see. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to be it for this podcast, unless y'all have any other quick topics y'all want to expand upon. All right. Well, I want to say thank you to Platypus, and a big thank you to Sedwerd for jumping on here. And I guess we're waiting for E3 for a little bit more news, and then the beta for a little bit more news after that. But just want to say thank you, everybody, for being on here and spending an hour talking about Destiny 2 and stuff we don't even know about. So.